Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. Today I have a fun and simple card making project that is perfect for sending well wishes to a friend in need. We are going to be using some fantastic new products from Trinity Stamps, and I'm going to share some beginner-friendly tips and techniques to make this project easier. I'm going to be using the new Healing Wishes stamp set, which includes some great sentiments like comfort and rest, sorry you don't feel well, and feel better soon. We'll also be using the coordinating die set to easily cut out those sentiments. I love how big and bold these are. I'm going to be decorating our card with the new Tiny Bandage die set. This has some great layering pieces with it. Before we dive in, let's talk about why today's video is extra special. We're celebrating the launch of Trinity Stamps' latest release with an Instagram and YouTube hop. Many of your favorite creators are sharing their own inspiring projects, and there's a chance to win a shopping spree to the Trinity Stamps shop. I'll share more details as we create this project. As I create today's project, I'll bring in a few additional supplies. As always, I encourage you to use what you have in your collection, but if you would like a full list of the items I'm using, you can find it in the description below, along with my affiliate link to the Trinity Stamps shop. Let's get started with the project. We're going to start by creating a textured background using a stencil from my collection. Whenever I send a get well or sympathy card, I try to make it cheerful and uplifting. So today we're adding some happy little sunflowers in the background. I'll be using Nouveau Glacier paste, which is a thin, shimmery paste that gives a beautiful effect without too much bulk. I'm applying this with a silicone brush, which spreads the paste smoothly and evenly compared to using a plastic spatula. Now here's a quick beginner tip for you. I always cut my cardstock larger than my final card size before stenciling. This way I can choose the best portion of the design when I trim this down. I'm going to remove the excess paste and place it back in the jar, and then we'll carefully remove the stencil. Isn't that gorgeous? Now it's important to wash your stencil and tools right away so the paste doesn't dry on them. I'm going to set this background aside to dry, wash everything up, and then I'll come back and we'll create some more items for this card. The next step is to create the pieces for our bandages. Instead of cutting out all of the die shapes first and coloring each tiny piece individually, I find it much faster to ink a full piece of cardstock, then die cut everything out. I'm using Tea Dye Distress ink on smooth cardstock, and I'm blending it with a brush to create a soft, even color. This looks like enough ink. I should be able to cut out 3 bandages from this piece. Let's go ahead and bring in the die cutting machine and cut these out. Now to save some time, I'm cutting multiple elements at once. I'm placing down one of the bandage dies, a small white square from the bandage die cuts for layering, and a piece of pink glitter cardstock to cut out a heart. We're going to run these shapes through the die cutting machine 3 times to get all of the bandage pieces we need for the card. I'm going to do that off camera so that we can continue on with our project. Our stencil background is dry, so I'm going to use a rectangular frame die from the Emergency Essentials collection to trim this down. These dies give a lovely beveled edge to the cardstock. The next step is to create the sentiment. I'm using Feel Better Soon from the Healing Wishes set. Because we're heat embossing, I'm going to apply some anti-static powder to my cardstock to prevent stray embossing powder from sticking. Using some clear embossing ink, I'm going to stamp this twice with my Misty stamping tool to get a crisp impression. I'm going to be cutting this sentiment apart into 2 separate pieces, so I also need to cut a second sentiment for that. I'm just going to move the cardstock up and stamp this second sentiment. For the embossing powder, I'm using Picked Raspberry Distress Embossing Glaze, which is a little different from regular embossing powder. This is a little chunkier than some of the finer powders I use, but it'll work just fine because these letters are rather thick. I like to use a low heat setting when I'm working with this distress embossing powder. It does melt quickly and it can spread if it's overheated. By using a lower heat, you get a crisper result. Distress powder is also translucent, which allows underlying colors to show through. When it's embossed on white cardstock, it creates a soft, glowing effect. So as I finish heating up this sentiment, I want to talk to you about today's giveaway. To celebrate the launch of this new release, Trinity Stamps is giving away a $25 shopping spree to their shop. To enter the giveaway, you just need to fill out the form. The link to it is in the description. The deadline to enter is April 1st, and winners will be announced on April 2nd in a YouTube post, on Instagram, and in the Trinity Stamps Facebook group. Links to each of those are in the description below. All right, our sentiment is complete. I'm going to set this aside and we're going to finish up those bandages. I'm going to use some vintage photo distress ink to lightly darken the edges and make them look more realistic. When shading small die cuts, it's best to tap off the excess ink before blending. This avoids harsh lines. I also find that a smaller brush gives me a little bit more control. Now, if you do get harsher lines, you can just go back in with the base color. I'm going to bring in that tea dye ink and smooth this out. For the little square cotton pieces, I'm adding just a hint of ink to the edges so that they match the bandages. I'm going to assemble the bandages with a little bit of foam tape. Over the top, I'm going to glue some little glitter hearts for a pop of sparkle. Do your kids love fun band-aids? Mine always ask for the ones with characters on them. You could customize these bandages by cutting them out of different colors or stamping some tiny designs on them to create some cute themed bandages. Let me know in the comments what fun designs you'll try. Now it's time to bring everything together. I'm placing the stenciled background onto a bright pink card base to match our glitter hearts and our sentiment. Now we're going to arrange our bandages. I wanted the sentiment to sit in between them, so I'm going to trim down that embossed Feel Better Soon into separate pieces. Now I'm going to be cutting apart the words feel better from the word soon. I am going to be cutting into the other set of words. This is why I had to cut 2 different sentiments. I wanted to create a nice even border around each portion of the sentiment. All right, let's go ahead and place everything down on this card. I'm going to start with the center bandage and place this down with a little bit of foam tape. Above this, I'll set the word feel better, and below it, I'll set the word soon. Now I just need to lay the other two bandages in place. If you want to give this more of a layered look, you could add some stitching, twine, or extra embellishments. But since this card is part of a hop and we wanted to keep things simple, we're going to stop here. And there you have it, a simple yet cheerful Feel Better Soon card with a little bit of shimmer and shine to brighten someone's day. Before you go, don't forget to enter the Trinity Stamps giveaway. The link to the entry form is in the description below, along with the list of creators that are participating in today's hop. There is also a playlist link that you can visit to view all of the projects using the items in this new release. Once you're finished with the YouTube hop, make sure you head on over to Instagram for another chance to win. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like, share, and subscribe for more crafty inspiration. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions about the project or supplies I used, feel free to post those in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.